Hey students, so now that you know how to reverse code a variable, I'm going to show you guys how to create an index variable, which is basically an average that is created of multiple items. So for this, we look again at these subjective knowledge questions. And as you can see, we have these 6 subjective knowledge questions. One of them, number 19 here, variable 19, being a question that is posed in the opposite direction compared to all the others. So in the previous video, what we did is we reversed it and created this new variable all the way at the bottom, which is the recoded version of the original don't know item. So what I'm going to show you guys is how to use each of these 6 variables and merge them together into one variable, simply because it's more workable, more easy to work with one index variable that consists of all of these, rather than working with each of them separately. Because in essence, the reason why we have 6 different variables measuring the same idea, namely subjective knowledge, is because it gives a more accurate measure of subjective knowledge if you ask respondents to answer a couple questions rather than just one. So, okay, first thing we need to do in order to even be allowed, technically speaking, to take these 6 items together is check the Chromebox alpha. Chromebox alpha is a measure to show the reliability of your scale. So let's take a look at how we do this. So you can go to Analyze, Scale, and then you go to Reliability Analysis. And under Reliability Analysis, you will find Chromebox alpha. So what I'm going to do first, what I'm going to show you first, is how to run the reliability analysis, and I'm going to perform that reliability analysis on the original 6 items. You will see that Chromebox alpha is not going to be good enough, and the reason for that is because we use the 6 original items, meaning we also include that reversed one. Now, what I'm going to show you next is run this reliability analysis again, but this time with the new reverse-coded variable that we created in the previous video. Okay, enough said. Let's dive in. So we go to Scale, Reliability Analysis, and if we click, this window will open up. So what we do is on the left side, where you find all your variables, you select these 6 original variables and just click them in. This is the recoded version. We're actually going to leave that out for now. We are going to use the original subjective knowledge question. So what you see right here is we selected these 6 original subjective knowledge questions. With this one, I really don't understand much about craft beer, being the odd one. So we click on Statistics. We click Item, Scale, and Scale if item deleted, and we hit Continue. Next, we give this a name. So the new scale, the index variable, we can call subjective knowledge overall or something like that, or subjective knowledge index. That makes actual total sense. What we're going to ask SPSS to give us is that Chromebox alpha. So everything's good. We click OK. Now this is what our output window shows us. So what we have is the reliability statistics, which is where we want to look. And we see literally Chromebox alpha reporting a certain value. And we see number of items, 6. That is because we included 6 variables and we wanted to check the reliability of these 6 variables together. Now, what this Chromebox alpha value tells you, it is 0.654. Well, it should be at least 0.8 to basically be good, to get a green light to create an index of these 6 variables. So in order to average these 6 variables into one, we need the Chromebox alpha to be higher than 0.8. Now, I'm actually not surprised that it is 0.654, or at least that it's lower than 0.8, because if you scroll down and you see these different variables, the 6 variables we included, we actually see here all of them listed. Here we see subjective knowledge. I really don't understand much about craft beer. We can see what the Chromebox alpha would be if we were to delete this item. This column says Chromax alpha if item deleted. So in other words, if we delete this item, Chromax alpha is going to go even lower than it currently is, because currently it is 0.654. We want it to be at least 0.8. If we delete this item, Chromax alpha is also going to decrease. This one as well is only going to make things worse. Deleting this one would also make things worse, and so on. But however, if we were to delete this item, I really don't understand much about craft beer. So in other words, if we were to make a scale or an index of only these 5 variables rather than the 6th one, we would actually get a much higher Chromax alpha. Chromax alpha would suddenly rise to 0.907 if we were to delete this item. Now, so we have two options. Either we completely just delete this item and then our Chromax alpha will be high enough and we can work with only these 5 items, or we can use that reverse coded variable that we created in the previous video. So let's take a look at what the Chromax alpha would be if we were to use these 5 items in addition to the new recoded variable. Okay, so you don't even have to really exit the screen. You can just use the toolbar on top and click Analyze again. You click Scale, whoops, and you click Reliability Analysis again. Now here, if you hover over, you can see that this is that odd one that we want to remove. So we click on it, we remove it, and we go all the way down to find our recoded version of that variable. This is the recoded version that we created in the past video. We click it in, and now we have 6 variables, 6 subjective knowledge variables, one of them being the recoded, the new one. So again, we check in statistics, item, scale, scale if item deleted. This gives us an idea of what the scale or the Chromax alpha would look like if you delete a certain item. You hit continue. You can still keep the same name, subjective knowledge index. This is all good. We hit OK. Boom. And what we see now in our output for our reliability analysis is that the Chromax alpha for these 6 items now is 0.915. So it drastically improved simply by inserting that recoded variable instead of the odd one. So if we scroll down right now and we see the breakdown for each of the separate variables, we see for each of the variables what the Chromax alpha would look like if we were to delete one of these items. And as you can tell, it's not improving things. Your Chromax alpha would slightly improve from what we had right here being 0.915. It would improve to 0.927, so it would slightly improve if we were to delete this item, but it's not worth the pain. It's only a small increase, and again, as long as it is above 0.8, you're good, you're golden, so you don't have to worry about deleting this item if the scale, the overall scale of all the 6 items is already good enough. Okay, so the improvement is not worth deleting that item. Cool. So now that we notice, we basically got a green light. You can consider this Chromax alpha, let me scroll up again. You can consider this Chromax alpha as a green or a red light. If this Chromax alpha of the items that you plan on taking together or averaging is higher than 0.8, you get a green light to actually start averaging that variable. So use those 6 separate variables to make them into one. So cool, we have a green light, so we can go ahead and do that. I'll show you how to do that. So you click transform. By the way, at any point if this bothers you, you can just like minimize that screen, but you can also just directly go to the toolbar. So if you click transform, you can click compute variable. If you click on compute, this window will open up and it allows you for all sorts of computations. Any type of calculation you want to do on your data, you can do right here. So the new target variable, we want to give it a name. So we can give it the same name that we gave when we were describing the Chromax alpha scale. So subjective knowledge index or something like that, whatever you find workable. Then we click type and label. If we click type and label, it is useful to set it as use expression as label. This means that the label that will show up in your code book. So let's see if we can, we can make this a little, well, get it out of the way. The label is what will be filled in right here. You want it to be something that allows you to understand and remember what the variable was about. So what I like to do personally is use the mathematical expression as the label, but you could also just type in a label, whatever you find more comfortable. So I click use expression as label. This you can leave by default and hit continue. Now, what is that expression? So what is the expression or the equation or the calculation you need to create an average variable? Well, that's actually just adding all of these variables up and dividing them by the total. That's what an average is. So we click open the parentheses, and here we find our subjective knowledge questions. So we click one by one in, but we have to add plus signs in between. So we click plus. Next one, click it in, plus. Next one, click it in, plus. Next one, click it in, plus. Now this one here, I really don't understand much about craft beer. Remember, there was the odd one. We did not get a green light for this one. The Chromax alpha was too low, so we're not going to include this one. We'll just click in the next one, plus, and as the sixth item, instead of using the odd one, we will now use the recoded one that we did in the last video. Cool. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables. Now we have to click out of the parentheses and click divide by 6. So this equation, this expression, is literally creating an average for these 6 separate variables. So we're gonna get kind of like a mother index kind of variable for subjective knowledge that consists of an average of each of these separate baby variables. So we hit OK, boom, and again our output, this is the syntax that just told us what we did. We did compute, that's very correct, we computed a new variable. So let's minimize this screen, go all the way down. And here is our subjective knowledge index variable. So if you want, you can use the same values here again, if it allows me to copy and paste. The computer is not allowing me now, I think. Yeah, it's happening. It is happening. Sometimes you have to kind of click next to it before you can click out of it, before you can click in it. Sorry for the clumsiness right here. I should probably use computer mouse. Yeah, now we got it. Cool. So because it has the same labels here, so we click the same one in. So from now on, if we want to know people's subjective knowledge or the average subjective knowledge of your sample, you can just use this index variable rather than look at the average subjective knowledge for each of these separate 6 variables. Yeah, this is a scale variable. SPSS did that correctly. Sometimes it makes mistakes, so you want to check on that. Cool. So this was how to create an index variable that is an average of multiple variables. To repeat, first thing you want to do is get a green light, which you get by clicking Analyze, Scale, Reliability Analysis, and checking that Chromax alpha. Once you have a green light, you click Transform, Compute, and you just create the computation, the expression that you need to create your new variable. No, actually, we're not going to do that now. We already did that. So, good. That was it.